The stars were full of noise. Every empire, every species, every world in the galaxy spoke through endless transmissions, trade codes, and political chatter. But there was one place that had gone completely silent: Earth. The Galactic Council had sent messages for weeks. At first, polite diplomatic greetings, then urgent requests, and finally commands. Yet no signal came back from humanity. No ambassador, no reply. Not even a mechanical acknowledgement, just silence. And that silence was starting to scare everyone. For thousands of years, humans had been a mystery. Unpredictable, clever, and dangerous. They had once ruled the stars through fear and respect. But after the Great Collapse, they had withdrawn from galactic affairs. They closed their borders, sealed their colonies, and faded from sight. Many believed they were gone forever, but now, something about this silence felt different. In the council chamber of Valoris Prime, 1,000 alien voices argued. The great circular hall glowed with floating holograms, maps of old Terran space, their colonies and old war routes. Ambassador Krythar of the Terran Dominion slammed his clawed hand on the table. "We cannot wait any longer," he growled. "Humanity must answer the council's call. Their silence is a threat." Across the table, the pale, tall diplomat of the Sarn Collective hissed softly, "A threat or a warning? Do you remember what they did the last time we tried to command them?" The room fell quiet. Everyone remembered. The siege of Meridian. The day the Council fleet demanded Earth to surrender its weapons. In response, humanity didn't speak, didn't negotiate. They simply appeared, and within hours, the entire Council armada was gone. No one ever learned how since then. Earth had stayed silent, but not forgotten. The current crisis had forced the Council to act again. A growing war among the outer systems had pulled every major power into conflict. The Council needed Earth's ancient technology, its data vaults, and most of all, its soldiers. So they sent a call, but humanity refused to answer. That silence echoed louder with every passing day. Every fleet that scanned near Sol reported strange readings. Massive power fluctuations deep under the moon's surface, gravitational waves near Mars, and hidden satellites awakening in the asteroid belt. It was as if something ancient was moving, and no one dared to find out what, on the Council world. A young officer named Seren Valar stood by the observation deck. She looked at the hologram of the Sol system flickering in front of her. "Why are they silent?" she whispered her commander. An older Kethrian with steel-gray skin answered quietly. "Because when humans stop talking," he said. "They're not ignoring you, they're planning something." Serene frowned. She had studied humans at the Academy, their wars, their psychology, their strange emotional depth. No other species had ever fought like them. No other race had ever turned defeat into victory so many times. "Maybe they're gone," she suggested. "No," her commander said firmly. "If humanity were gone, the stars would breathe easier. Instead, they're holding their breath." Across the galaxy, fear began to spread. Old stories returned. Tales of the Terran Ghost Fleet. Black ships that moved without light, of colonies that vanished overnight, of planets that dared to threaten Earth and were erased from maps. The young didn't believe them, but the elders remembered. And now that Earth had gone silent again, everyone started to remember those stories a little too well. The Council finally voted to send a diplomatic fleet, 20 ships from different races carrying peace offers and trade packs. Their goal was simple: reach Earth orbit and request communication. But deep down, no one expected a reply. They just wanted to see if the stories were true. As the fleet jumped towards Sul, their sensors started to act strange. Static filled their communications, time signals began to drift. Even their navigation systems flickered, showing impossible readings. When they reached the edge of the system, every star around them seemed dimmer, like the darkness itself had thickened. From her command chair aboard the Vireth ambassador, Serene watched the blue marble of Earth appear in the distance. So quiet, so beautiful. No ships moved around it, no signals came from it. It was like looking at a sleeping god. "Transmit our greeting," she ordered. The communications officer nodded, sending the Council's formal message. They waited 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5, nothing. Then the comm lights flickered. For a moment, static hissed through the speakers, then a faint sound. Not words, not language, a heartbeat, a deep, rhythmic pulse that filled every ship's system. It wasn't loud. but it made every living being on the fleet freeze in place. Serene felt her chest tighten, her mind shaking. Is that... It's coming from Earth, whispered the technician. Through every frequency we use. The Council fleet immediately tried to respond, but the heartbeat grew louder, matching the rhythm of their ship engines. Then all lights went dark, every screen turned black, showing only one symbol. A simple old Terran insignia, a single white star on a black field. The crew sat frozen. No one dared to move. Then a final message appeared on their main screen, written in simple Terran standard, "We are listening." The heartbeat stopped. Silence returned, but this time it wasn't empty. It was the silence before a storm. Serene looked out the viewport again. Her hands shaking. Earth was still there, calm, untouched and terrifyingly quiet. "Admiral," she whispered, "what do we do now?" The old commander looked pale. "We pray they don't speak," he said slowly, "because if they do, the galaxy will never be the same again." The Council fleet drifted silently near Earth. Their engines were still, their comms filled with static. The only thing that moved was the faint heartbeat signal still echoing through their systems. It was slow, deep and steady, like the pulse of something ancient, something alive. Captain Serene Valar stood frozen on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the planet below. It looked peaceful, too peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green land, no defense grids, no warships. Nothing to suggest power or threat. Yet everyone aboard could feel it. A quiet weight pressing against their chests, like the planet itself was watching them. The fleet's admiral broke the silence. "All ships, report status. Engines online," came one voice. "But communications are unstable." "Sensors malfunctioning," said another. "Something is jamming every system we have." The admiral frowned. "Then who's sending the heartbeat?" No one answered, because deep down they already knew on Valaris Prime. The Galactic Council watched everything through live transmission. Dozens of alien delegates leaned forward as the image of Earth hovered above the chamber. "Still no response?" asked Ambassador Krethar. "No," replied the Sarn diplomat, his voice uneasy. "They received our message, but all they gave us was that sound." The heartbeat filled the chamber again. Deep, steady, powerful, even through the transmission. It made the air vibrate. It was not random noise. It was communication, deliberate and controlled. A statement: humanity was awake and it was listening. Back near Earth, Serene's ship, Virith Ambassador, drifted toward the dark side of the planet. The moon hung behind them like a silver eye. But as they passed into Earth's shadow, their sensors picked something up. Movement. Faint, fast, and impossible to track. "Contact!" shouted the sensor officer. "Multiple unknown objects closing in." "How many?" Serene demanded. "Too many to count. They're not on any known registry." Dozens of blips appeared on the radar, surrounding the fleet. They moved like shadows, flickering in and out of detection. Every time one came close, their systems flickered or died. Then, through the darkness, shapes began to appear. At first, they looked like asteroids, dark, rough, silent. But when one passed close to the ship, its surface shimmered, armor plating, old Terran design, black as night. No lights, no signals. They weren't asteroids. They were ships. "My gods," whispered one crew member. "Those are human." The shadows circled the Council fleet like predators around prey. One of them glided silently alongside Serene's ship. It had no markings, no windows, just smooth black metal. Then a small white light appeared on its hull, a single dot blinking slowly in rhythm with the same heartbeat. "They're scanning us," said the technician, his voice shaking. "Weapons?" asked Serene. "No weapons active." Yet, the Admiral opened the main channel, his voice firm but trembling. "This is Admiral Tharal of the Galactic Council fleet. We come in peace, requesting dialogue with the Terran government." No reply. The heartbeat continued, echoing through every system. Then after a long minute, a new sound broke through the static. A voice, soft, calm, human. "You shouldn't have come here." The entire bridge went silent. The voice continued. "Leave now, while you still can. The Watchers do not forget." Serene's hands trembled. "Who are the Watchers?" she whispered. "They are the ones who guard what remains," the voice replied. "And they do not forgive trespassers." Before the Admiral could answer, The connection cut off. Then all power across the fleet surged. Every screen flashed white, then black, when systems came back online. The radar showed only empty space. The human ships were gone. The Admiral's face turned pale. They vanished. He muttered, "How can an entire fleet vanish?" Serene asked. "They didn't vanish," said the Admiral, his voice low. "They let us see them back on Valoris Prime." Panic spread through the Council. The footage from the expedition fleet had gone viral across the galaxy. Millions had seen the dark Terran ships, the heartbeat signal, and the message. Every empire began recalling their fleets from Terran borders. Whispers of the Watchers spread like wildfire. Who were they? Were they remnants of the old Terran Navy? Machines left behind? Or something far worse? The humans themselves, evolved and hidden in the dark. The Council tried to control the panic, but it was too late. The silence of Earth had become a storm in every mind. Merchants refused to travel near Sol. Colonies cut transmissions. And soldiers spoke of omens and old prophecies. In the quiet of her quarters aboard the Virith Ambassador, Seren replayed the human message again and again. The voice sounded calm, but beneath it was something else. Grief, or rage, she couldn't tell. She looked out the window at the distant blue planet, glowing softly against the black. "What are you planning, humans?" She whispered. "Why now?" Outside, in the deep shadows of space, one of the black Terran ships moved silently through the dark. Its hull reflected no light, no energy, only the cold of the void. Inside, hidden from every alien eye, a single figure stood before a console, a human, eyes pale and cold. He looked at Earth from orbit and whispered, "They're watching us again. Then let them remember why they feared us." The screen before him pulsed once, in rhythm with the heartbeat. Then silence filled the void once more. The Watchers had returned, and the galaxy's fear had only begun. Across the galaxy, silence turned into whispers, and whispers turned into fear. The Council tried to calm the public, saying the Terrans were only a myth, a story from the old wars. But no one believed them anymore. The video of the dark Terran ships had spread everywhere. Billions had seen the glowing heartbeat signal, and billions were asking the same question: what are the humans planning? On the planet Valoris Prime, inside the Galactic Council Hall, chaos was breaking out. Ambassadors from every species shouted over one another. The air was thick with fear and argument. "The humans are rebuilding their fleets," one shouted. "We must strike first," yelled another. "Strike? You saw what they did to the scout ships. They erased them without firing a shot." A third protested. High Chancellor Regan Sol slammed her staff against the floor. The noise echoed like thunder through the chamber. "Enough," she commanded. "You forget what happened the last time the Terrans were provoked." Her eyes, cold and sharp, turned toward the massive screen showing the Sol system. "We will not attack," she said, "but we will watch." Meanwhile, deep within the asteroid fields of the outer rim, the Watchers moved. Dozens of hidden Terran outposts came alive for the first time in centuries. Massive structures lit up one by one, old defense satellites reactivated. Signals rippled through dark space, coded, silent, invisible to alien sensors. In the command center of the Terran Watchers, Commander Elias Ward stood before a massive holographic map. Every star in the galaxy shimmered before him. He had aged, his hair silver, his eyes tired, but his voice still carried the quiet power of an old war leader. "They found us sooner than expected," he said. "What's the Council's move?" asked his officer. "They're scared," Elias replied. "And scared leaders make dangerous choices." He turned toward a massive window, looking out at the faint blue light of Earth in the distance. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered, "but not for war, not yet. Far from the core worlds, on a mining planet named Kratis, alien workers whispered stories about the humans. They said humans once ruled the stars with fire and steel, that they built ships so fast they could tear holes in space itself, that when the galaxy turned on them they didn't beg for peace. They vanished. Some said they built fortresses inside black holes, others said they became one with the void. But everyone agreed on one thing: if humans ever returned, it wouldn't be for peace. Captain Seren Valar, still aboard her ship, could not sleep. Since the encounter near Earth, she kept seeing those dark ships in her dreams. Silent, cold, watching, the voice still echoed in her head. You shouldn't have come here. She opened her logbook, recording in a low voice. Day 9 since contact. No transmissions from Earth. No signs of Terran ships. But sensors pick up faint energy signatures near the Sol system, shifting, alive. Then she paused. I can't tell if it's fear or curiosity keeping me awake. Her console blinked. An incoming message. It was from the Admiral, marked urgent. She played it, and the Admiral's face appeared pale and tense. Captain Valor. Return to Valoris Prime immediately, he said. We've detected large-scale movements on the Terran border. Entire sectors have gone dark, and one of our patrol fleets has disappeared back on Valoris Prime. Chancellor Regan met with her top generals in a secure chamber. They stood around a table displaying the galactic map. Several sectors glowed red, lost contact. This can't be coincidence, one general said. The Terrans are building something. Regan leaned closer. What if they already built it? The room went silent. She turned to her aide. Bring me all data on the old Terran Dreadnought program. The aide froze. Chancellor, that project was erased from records. Then find the ones who remember, she ordered, because if the rumors are true, we're all in danger. In the hidden Terran base, Commander Elias received a secure transmission, a coded message from an old ally. It read simply, they are searching for the Dreadnought. Elias smiled faintly. Let them search, he said. They'll never find it. His officer frowned. Sir, after centuries in the dark, what's our endgame? Elias turned, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Endgame? He repeated, there's no endgame. There's only the truth, and they're not ready to hear it. He looked once more at Earth through the glass. The heartbeat signal pulsed again. Deep, calm, powerful. We stayed silent for peace, he whispered, but they forgot what silence costs. In the vast void beyond the Sol system, something stirred. Massive shadows moved through the darkness. Not small ships, but something far greater. An ancient shape glided through the dark. Covered in layers of dust and metal, the stars dimmed as it passed. Engines that hadn't burned for centuries came alive again. The Terran Dreadnought had awakened, its name etched across the hull. Eternal Resolve. The heartbeat signal grew louder across the galaxy. Every world felt it, every ship heard it. A silent warning pulsing through the stars. Humanity was not speaking, but their silence was louder than any threat. The galaxy had grown quiet again. But this time the silence wasn't comforting. It was heavy, filled with the weight of something ancient waking up. Something everyone thought had been destroyed long ago across hundreds of star systems. Reports flooded in, ships disappearing, stations going dark. Gravity distortions appearing out of nowhere, and through it all, one pattern repeated, a single heartbeat signal pulsing through the void, steady and slow. Thump. 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 No one could trace its source, no one could explain it. But deep down, every species knew it was coming from them, from the Terrans, on Valoris Prime. Chancellor Regan stared at the holoscreen. A dark shape was moving near the Sol boundary, larger than any ship ever recorded. Its size broke the sensor readings. That can't be a ship, one of the officers whispered. It's too big and it's like a small moon, but it was a ship. And it was heading straight for the frontier. Regan's voice trembled. Identify it. After a few moments, the AI spoke softly. Identification code found. Terran Dreadnought. Eternal Resolve. Every soul in the chamber froze. The myths were real, the stories were true. Humanity's greatest weapon, the ship that once ended empires, had returned. Far away, in the Terran command base hidden within asteroid Epsilon 9, Commander Elias Ward stood before a flickering hologram of the same dreadnought. Its colossal structure filled the display. Black steel, layered armor, reactor cores pulsing like a living heart. After 3 centuries, Elias whispered. She still remembers her path. His officer looked at him in disbelief. Sir, we're really deploying her? We don't have to fire a single shot, Elias said quietly. The galaxy will do the rest. Fear will finish what words cannot. The officer hesitated. And if they attack us? Then, Elias said, his eyes hard, they'll see why humanity stopped talking. The eternal resolve moved like a ghost through space. Its hull reflected no light. Its weapons were silent, yet wherever it passed, alien sensors went blind. Entire fleets scrambled to track it, and failed. From the bridge of her ship, Captain Terran Valar watched the readings spike. She had returned to the frontier against orders. She had to see it for herself. And now, there it was, a giant shadow blocking out the stars. It's beautiful, she whispered. Her crew stared in stunned silence. No engines roared, no weapons fired, just a quiet, impossible ship drifting with purpose. The dreadnought broadcast no message. No threat, no demand, just the same steady heartbeat signal, thump, thump, thump. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was in full panic. Thousands of worlds demanded answers. We have to destroy it before it reaches our colonies, shouted one general. Destroy that. Regan snapped. You saw what happened when our fleet approached Sol. Do you want to erase half the frontier again? Every attempt to contact Earth was met with silence. No words, no transmissions, only the heartbeat. It was as if humanity had spoken its final message long ago. You had your chance. In the hidden Terran archives, Elias accessed the memory logs of the Eternal Resolve. Old voices filled the air, voices of captains, engineers and soldiers long dead. Their final entries spoke of betrayal, of the Council's deception centuries ago, of how humanity was blamed for the war they didn't start, how Earth was bombed, its people scattered, and how one ship, the Eternal Resolve, was sent away to sleep, to wait until humanity was ready to rise again. Elias closed the log, his eyes cold. History always forgets the cost of mercy, he said. But machines remember. He looked to his officer. Activate the link. A beam of faint blue light connected the command base to the dreadnought. The ship's systems came fully online. Power surged across its hull. Energy readings spiked higher than anything seen before. Captain Terran Valar's ship trembled as the dreadnought awakened. Its engines ignited, silent but bright as a dying sun. Waves of energy rippled through the void. Her crew screamed as alarms blared. It's charging weapons. Someone shouted no, Seren said softly, her eyes locked on the ship. It's not aiming at us. The dreadnought turned, not toward the alien fleets, but toward Earth for a moment. The entire galaxy held its breath. Then, light burst across the Sol system. A coded transmission spread everywhere. It contained no words, only one simple signal, translated into every known language. It said, "We remember." The Council's chambers fell silent as the message ended. Chancellor Regan stood frozen. The words echoed in her mind. "We remember." One of her aides turned to her. "What do we do?" Regan stared at the display of the dreadnought now orbiting Earth. "We wait," she said quietly. "Because I think the real message hasn't come yet." In the Terran command room, Elias stood alone. The stars reflected in his tired eyes. He whispered, "Let them see what silence means." Outside, the Eternal Resolve opened its hangar doors. Dozens of smaller Terran ships emerged, fast, sleek, alive, for the first time in centuries. Earth's navy had returned to the stars. The galaxy trembled. The silence was over. But humanity still hadn't spoken a single word. The galaxy held its breath. For years, silence had ruled. No message, no signal, no word from Earth. Only the steady heartbeat that pulsed like a warning. And now, the Terran fleet was back. The ancient dreadnought and its escorts filled the void with power and promise. On Valoris Prime, the Galactic Council prepared for the worst. Ships scrambled, weapons charged, and alarms blared. Every species waited for the Terran strike. For the war they believed was coming, but then, unexpectedly, a broadcast cut through every channel. It was not a shout of war, not a demand or threat. It was calm, almost peaceful. The voice was human, deep and steady. "We are the descendants of Earth," it said. "We remember the pain of silence, the betrayal of the Council. But we did not return to destroy. We returned to remind." The transmission showed images. Old battles, destroyed worlds, shattered colonies, a history the Council had tried to erase. The Terrans showed proof of their suffering, of how they had been betrayed, abandoned, and attacked. but also proof of their survival, of their strength. Captain Seren Valar listened to the broadcast with mixed feelings. Fear and awe battled inside her. She had seen the Terran fleet. They were not just ships. They were a symbol of pain. Pride and power, the message continued. Our silence was not weakness. It was a warning. If the galaxy chooses war, we will respond. But if the galaxy chooses peace, we will listen. The council's chambers were filled with stunned silence. Ambassador Krythar spoke slowly. They want respect, not war, but their silence was a test. Chancellor Regan nodded. We must change how we see humanity, she said, or we risk losing everything. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the Eternal Resolve and its fleet prepared for a new era. Terran pilots trained with fierce dedication. The fleet was a message to the galaxy that Earth was awake and ready. Commander Elias Ward stood on the Dreadnought's bridge, looking at the stars with clear eyes. Our silence has ended, he said. Now, the galaxy will hear us. Back on the frontier, Captain Seren sent a message of her own. To the Council, to the galaxy, to humanity. We have seen the Terran fleet, she reported. They are powerful and proud, but willing to talk. Perhaps the silence was never meant to frighten us, but to prepare us for a new future. The heartbeat signal faded, replaced by a new sound, the sound of voices, of dialogue, of hope. The galaxy was no longer frozen in dread. It was ready to listen, because humanity had finally spoken, and their voice was stronger than any warship.